One member that we'd like to hold up for the team is Jordana Lee. Jordana is there with us online. She is the Secretary of Engagement, and she hosted at Lincoln Center the DYCD Step It Up team this summer to perform, and there were some photos that were shared. The youth really loved being at Lincoln Center. It meant a lot. So Jordana, thank you so much for hosting our DYCD Step It Up competition winners. I also want to recognize a number of board members who have taken the time out to attend the coffee meet and greet that Eduardo Laboy set up. Raymond, Chris, Jackie, Maureen, Grant, Abube, Alia, and also the mayoral intern team, NYPD, and Access VR for being on hand during those coffee meet and greets. Eduardo circulated minutes from the meet and greets, and as you can see, there have been some actionable items follow up to that. So just we thank you for expressing your interest and ideas, and Eduardo, thank you for following up on all of that.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. So now do we have a quorum to move on to the nomination, Eduardo? We don't have a quorum in the room. Is it in the room? Because I see a lot of board members online.
I have more board members online.
And we need to have enough in the room? A quorum in the room, okay.
A quorum is how many?
One more than not. So would it be possible to have like a special meeting, you know, sort of elect the officer? Can someone do that? Sort of, you know, run off and say, give folks 3 weeks or so to pick something for next board. Absolutely.
And that would have to be in person? We'll have to show them.
That would have to be a form of person. So the next board meeting, that would be in December, December to be exact, because of the report. However, what you're suggesting is a meeting in between them.
I don't know, Eduardo, if we can't get people to come to these quarterly meetings and they're scheduled so far in advance, what makes us think that people to a special meeting?
That's a very good point. We'll have to obviously highlight that in terms of an urgency to get the vote. However, it would probably be recommended that we take the vote today. So for notice, perhaps in between or up until the next week.
Or maybe can we leave the election of officers to the next meeting? Is there a downside? Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
for December.
So if we leave it to the next meeting, I would still like to, you know, put out there that
I want the team online to be able to hear this. Team online, where we don't have a quorum in the room right now. We need a quorum in one more in person than we do online to do voting. So Peter McCree has a recommendation.
Thank you, Liz. What I was thinking is that, as you know, I sent an email to everyone requesting nominations for both of the officer positions. And I think it would be very helpful. I mean, I really only got one response. So it would be very helpful if folks just respond to that email with no response. I have no response, or I have no nominations. Because I think that both Elizabeth and Jordana, you know, have served as officers for quite some time. And they're both willing to continue to serve. However, I think that they're also willing to support any other member who would like to participate at that level. Okay, so if I could get that information back, I think maybe a December meeting we could, you know, we know who to nominate, all that good stuff. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. By all means, we'll certainly pursue this at the next meeting and get the nominations, in fact, and conduct the vote at that point in time. Thank you.
Thank you, Eduardo. So moving on, and I think we do have enough people to vote for this between those online and those in the room. We wanted to discuss our annual calendar for 2 reasons. We have, as a result of the state's open meeting laws moving forward, all meetings need to be attended in person with a quorum as we used to do, unless we vote to move to a hybrid option. So one of the things that we want to do in this meeting is to ask the board members if you would like to move to in-person, all 100%, or whether you would like to continue with the hybrid option. So that's one thing I'd like, and we're open to anyone's feedback who wants to give feedback on that. The other thing that we wanted is, that's the how, in-person or hybrid. The other thing is when to have the meetings. If you'll recall, before COVID, we had morning meetings. A lot of people started their day off here, went to their jobs. We had pretty high attendance. When Eduardo did the coffee, he got some feedback that some people would like to move back to the morning meeting option. There's a couple of things we can do. We did move to the afternoon to be more inclusive of the students that were on the board.
We made a decision.
Yes.
To include young people on the board, and therefore it had to be in every school hours.
Yes, and Nancy, for those in case you couldn't hear, the reason why we made the switch to the afternoon was to be inclusive of those that attended school that couldn't come in the morning. Eduardo, based on feedback, has a suggestion, again, that we can put out for a vote. By the way, I don't want to confuse things. Should we vote for the in-person versus hybrid first before we get into the timing? Does anyone want to put a motion to get on the floor to continue the hybrid, or opposite, to keep it only in person?
Well, I'd like to participate in hearing on.
I'd like to go back to in-person. Now, maybe this is a skewed sample because the people who are in person are here. But I think it makes for a better meeting, and it makes for actual conversation rather than people, at home just looking at their phones. But, and I would actually, I don't know what the issue is. You want to talk about the timing or
This is Lucy. Is it possible to say maybe 2 meetings in person and 2 hybrid during the year?
There's somebody
Somebody's
talking about
speaking.
hybrid.
Okay.
Well, exactly my point. Yeah. You can't hear anybody.
Yeah,
The-
it's really
The technology never works
Tell them if they can repeat
because
themselves.
this is non-government government, so the
Yeah,
technology.
just can you
Can you guys repeat yourself, please?
Are you asking me to repeat myself?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was proposing that maybe there be 2 meetings in person and 2 hybrid meetings a year, so that there's at least some times when we're all in the same room.
I would also like to,
Thank you, Lucy.
I would like to propose that either we do, it's just in person or just hybrid. Because I think it's really not working when it's both. So I like the 2 meeting, online and 2 meetings in person.
well, I guess having said that, I prefer in person because you couldn't even hear what Lucy said. But we can try 2 and 2. And see how the attendance goes.
Would it be possible with the open meeting requirement to do 2 in person and 2 only virtual a year? Is that even something that's allowed?
Hello, my name is Eduardo LeBoy. Once again, according to open meeting laws, the meetings will have to be in person. The only option would be allowed for a hybrid component, and that would have to be done by board resolution, which we can certainly facilitate. So we are looking at in-person meetings with an option for hybrid, but we will not be able to do virtual. Correct.
Oh, thank you for that.
In-person meeting with an option. Right. So in-person meeting with an option for hybrid or 100% in person.
100%.
Anyone, and by the way, I'm so sorry online, we can barely hear you. We're listening to you from the computer. Keyboard, it was working before, so that this technology does, happens, but we're struggling to hear you. Does anyone online have any comments?
Then people type in the chat. Some people.
Can you read the comments? we're gonna read the chat comments.
From the people in the chat, there's some people that say 100% hybrid or 100% in person.
Which we can't do.
We can't do.
100% hybrid.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
We can't do 100% remote. Right, so it,
Yeah.
so it's in
So
person.
so 100% is 100%
In person.
in person. 100% in person totally, or 100% plus hybrid?
I think that the hybrid is terrible.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Look at
what are
what's
the
going on.
situations where you would need a hybrid meeting?
If there was another big COVID outbreak, maybe, I
Got it.
don't know, maybe.
Okay, okay. So based upon that,
Yeah,
Small
should we,
pox,
there's a nomination to vote for fully in person. So for those online, there's a nomination on the floor by Nancy Waxstein to move to 100% in person. I'm actually concerned because we can't hear anyone online. We don't know how they're voting.
they could vote with their hands
With their hands,
Yeah.
okay.
on the screen.
But on this screen, I see 2 people.
We can't.
So I'll type in the chat. Raise your hand if you vote in person.
Okay. So, all those in favor of moving to an in-person quarterly meeting, so back to where we were pre-COVID, if you could please, or vote yes in the chat.
For in-person meeting.
Only.
So we have 3 in-person votes in the room,
Four.
4 in the room, and online. Instead of saying raise your, oh, thank you, Chris. I see Chris. I see Lucy for in-person, Chris and Lucy. I feel like I'm an auctioneer. I see 1, I see 2, I see Chris and Lucy. Anyone else other than Chris and Lucy voting to support the moving to in-person? I can't see anyone other than Chris and Lucy. If you could just please put it in the chat. Just please put it in the chat and please say in-person.
Wow, boy.
There may not be board members.
Do we have the, in the chat, just a quick look at the chat, just to see if anyone else said. So right now it looks like 6-4, and the other board members that dialed in are not supportive of in-person going forward. So Eduardo, that's 6. What does that leave us with?
Also 7 online?
2 online are in support and 4 in the room. Now,
There's
Eduardo,
2
just-
online who commented that they prefer hybrid in the chat.
2 people online for hybrid.
Okay. Eduardo, one thing for the team, and again, sorry that we can't hear the people online, but Eduardo, according to what you said, the default is in person. So we need to vote to support hybrid.
That's right.
Okay.
So right now the vote is 6-3. 6 in favor of in-person, 3 of maintaining the hybrid component.
Okay. So right now we have a vote of 6 people to move to in-person and 3 to maintaining the hybrid, according to Eduardo.
Yes.
Okay, so does that give us a way forward or not?
That does.
Okay, and that's moving to in-person?
That's correct.
Wait,
Oh,
That's what
sorry.
recommended, the vote is supporting that, that's what.
Wait, I think if we're going to ask people to vote, then there's not everyone has voted. So either people
Yeah.
need to abstain or they need to vote. So either we should say, everyone cast your vote. Everyone in person, raise your hand or type in yes. Everyone hybrid, type in your answer, raise your hand. Everyone abstaining, and then we know what the vote is.
Yes.
Okay, that's on, we can't hear you, unfortunately. We're listening to you through the computer screen, but why don't we do this? In the room, there are 4 board members that have voted. We have 4 in the room, correct? That have voted for in-person. Online, we have 2 board members on record that have voted for in-person. Eduardo, if it's not, whoever's taking notes, if we can record this.
Yes.
The 2 that voted for in-person online are Lucy and Chris Vistardi. Thank you, Chris. Could you please type in the vote for hybrid. So Nyla Flake Brown said hybrid. If you just by your name, if you could just say hybrid or abstain, we would appreciate it. Jordana said hybrid. Nyla Flake Brown said hybrid. Jeanette Rodriguez said hybrid. Reggie said hybrid. So we have 4 hybrid. Anyone else? And as Jordana said, if you're abstaining, if you could just put abstain. So we have record of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be recorded and I have it here.
Okay, great. So 4 board members voted for hybrid.
6 voted for in person.
6 in person and no abstentions. Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll let Eduardo figure out what that means.
Yeah, I'll follow up.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, everyone. Sorry about that we can't hear you. This is not optimal, but this happens. Jackie, do you have anything to say? No. Okay. So moving on, Eduardo will get back to us with that. Just in terms of the when for the meetings, again, they had been at 4 p.m. We've shifted to the afternoon. Eduardo received feedback that some support the morning. Eduardo wanted to put forward, based on his feedback, a recommendation for next year as doing a blended flexible time calendar. What his recommendation is 4 p.m. our normal start time for the annual meeting in September, as well as for the first meeting of the year. So those are the 4 p.m.s. He recommends 3 p.m. for the December meeting because we're doing a site visit. Generally, we're going to be doing a site visit this December. So starting a little bit earlier to do the site visit, and then 9 a.m. for the summer meeting. So his recommendation is 4 p.m. for the first board meeting of the year and the third board meeting of the year as tradition, but having a 9 a.m. in June and a 3 p.m. in December. So we wanted to put that out to the board for feedback.
Well, I mean, the morning meeting used to be at 8:30, so people could get to work, for those who work and go to the office. So I'm wondering why you thought 9 rather than 8:30?
Oh, no. I could answer that. No,
8:30 is fine. 9 a.m. is just a general start time for business. However, just to specify, to add what has been said, the June meeting would be done when school would close. So therefore, the conflict with education wouldn't be at the table.
You know, as I said earlier, we changed the time so that the young people who were still in school could come. Do we have young people on the board? Do we have students on the board? I mean, is that relevant, I guess is my question.
Currently, there are 2 youth representatives on the board, and amongst the candidates, which I'll be reporting on for board consideration, there are a handful of young people.
Okay.
So that proposed schedule does take that into consideration. Obviously, the calendar academic year meetings would still be in the afternoon, 4 p.m.
I guess the other question is, if we're doing it, I'm wondering if December is the best time to do a site visit. Before, in the past, it was cold in December. And I'm just wondering if that would be a disincentive.
Yeah, December is a very tricky month, not only because of the weather, but because of the vast amount of holidays. The next meeting is actually scheduled for December the 5th, which is early on in the month, to avoid the holidays and hopefully avoid any inclement weather as well. But of course, we can't predict that. Thoughts?
yeah,
I was just thinking that if when the meetings are at 8:30 and folks can, get here, start their day, and move on, I think it's just a lot easier to attend the meetings in general. So maybe instead of having 2 meetings in the afternoon, maybe we have 3 meetings in the morning and maybe the annual meeting in the afternoon where the students can attend. Because, are the students going to attend the 2 afternoon meetings, or is it more likely that they would come to one meeting, which is the annual meeting, which I think would be helpful for me as far as making more meetings.
Since we will be voting on the officers at another point in time, we could certainly have that voted upon at that point in time as well.
Should we allow anyone on the floor online if they have any, does anyone online have any comments? And then Commissioner Howard has joined us, so we're going to move into the portion where he's going to give his comments. But anyone online, any feedback? Oh, good, 2 comments. Can anyone read them, because I can't read it?
So the first comment, how are we accommodating the young people for the 9:00 a.m. meeting?
So the answer to that, what Eduardo said was, it will be after, the proposed meeting will be after school is closed.
That would be in June,
Late June.
And the second question, can we just do 2 meetings in the afternoon and 2 in the morning?
We certainly can.
That's definitely an option, and might maybe be a little bit simpler in terms of getting our heads around that. Thank you for that feedback, Eduardo. We'll take that into consideration and we'll come back. Any other, those were very helpful. Any other comments from those online?
Jeanette said, agree with Jordana, splitting the meeting 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon to accommodate both work and student and work schedules.
Thank you so much for that feedback. Very helpful. Anything else from those online? Nancy.
Liz, or maybe it's Eduardo, I would just say, the sooner you can get out the schedule, the better for the whole year. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry. So, that's okay. So I think the recommendation is Eduardo's going to take this back into consideration and come back to all of you. Eduardo, do we have a quorum now? Do we have a quorum? We don't. Okay. So Eduardo's going to take all of that feedback back, and when we vote on do the special meeting for voting, we will vote on the calendar for next year. I'm very pleased to pass the microphone on to Commissioner Howard to give his report. Thanks, Commissioner.
Afternoon or evening? Oh, that's still in the afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone that's online. Thank you, Elizabeth, as always. And also, thank my DYCD staff for putting all of this together. I apologize for my lateness. I just came from City Hall. Just to talk about that a little bit, we, with the support of one of our partners, Global Kids, we helped sponsor, from the mayor's directive, 4 young people to go to Ghana this summer. And it's a program, an exchange program, and it was breathtaking when they came back and the reports that they provided to the mayor. And the mayor, of course, who's a world traveler, also went to Ghana as well. So the mayor was engaging the young people on their trip and what they saw and the experiences that they had. So I say that to say the mayor turned to me and he, of course, acknowledged the fact that he wants DYCD to be involved more in this space, to be able to provide young people with international experience. But he said something to me that, and he often does this as well, and he probably have done this to some of you as well. Things that are in his head automatically, he says, Commissioner, what I want you to do is I want you to set up a program with the public Department of Education where young people will have access and be able to get their passports. Okay. And that's exactly what I said. I said, okay, that can be done. Because he wants the he wants young people, as we all do, to be experienced and be world travelers as well. And he wants DYCD and DOE and any other city agencies to be charged with that experience. And I can honestly tell you, the young people who went, it was life-changing for them. You know? So just to say that. Iguana, I know that everyone has the minutes, right? So I'm not going to read over the minutes, but I can tell you things that are not in the minutes that has been happening. And I know that with the announcement of the budget cuts, we can also talk about that as well. So the summer, we had a magnificent, robust summer this year. Summer Youth Employment Program and all of its major indicators, from special initiatives where we were providing summer youth employment slots for young people with disabilities, young people who live in public housing, young people who live in foster care, Justice Involved youth through ACS. Those special initiatives, and also undocumented young people. All of those special initiatives have had an increase this year in the number of young people that had participated in our summer youth employment program. So we had 100,000 young people in our program, but we went even a little bit further, just a little bit further, and it's 100,300. 100,300. And that was great. And an amazing experience across the board. We added something that the mayor had as part of his State of the City was SYEP Pride, in which we took a concerted effort to identify organizations and companies that went on and made a safe space for young people in LGBTQ plus identifications to have a safe space to work and to thrive. And that program this year was absolutely fabulous. And I have to really acknowledge Louis Vuitton, which we have a relationship with now. And they helped us build out that program as well. And I can't say that it wasn't something that I took fully advantage of, being the fact that I have a couple of articles and garments that are Louis Vuitton, you know. But it was a safe space. The program was robust. The mayor also wanted a more targeted career exploration for middle school kids. So because, you know, we want to make sure that middle school kids start to think about career opportunities as best as we can. We were able to create spaces and career exploration where we took young people to major corporations and where they had an opportunity to ask questions about jobs and jobs opportunity, from engineering, you know, firms to tech companies like Microsoft, which we have a really good relationship with. So SYP was really one of the most, I would say it's growing. It has in its 60th year, and by the way, it's the 60th year anniversary. It has gone into such a robust program with so much enriching opportunities for young people. Summer Rising, which of course is our version of summer camp that's school-based, 110,000 young people. Our partnership with the Department of Education, another project or program that went almost spotless this year, after challenges that we had last year when we when the enrollment changed, and we last year had it at a first come, first served, and that actually was not the best model for recruitment and enrollment. We had some way taken away the relationship with community-based organizations and principals, and the more sophisticated parents who were able to get online and hold slots, it was a problem. And the community-based organizations, you know, were very vocal that they needed a seat at the table and needed to remain at the table. So we actually was able to right size this year and was able to provide with the principal a working relationship with the principals and the CBOs where we had select choice. And we gave them the opportunity to be the driving forces in being able to enroll their kids. And if you were in the school already and your sibling was in school already, then we made a conscious effort to make sure that that the young person actually had the slots and the slots available. So I can honestly say this year, Summer Rising was one of the best years. And I think that as we are embracing, you know, our current migrant asylum seeking crisis, some of the community-based organizations were able to work with us to make sure that that there were slots and space available as well for a population that is coming to, you know, New York City with a lot of challenges and needs a lot of resources. So I'm very excited about those two programs this year. And of course, in addition to a number of other special events that we were able to hold this year to keep young people and adults engaged. We've been working with the mayor's office because this is of course, the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So we've been working with the mayor's office and a few of our sister agencies to celebrate hip hop in a real way. And that, you know, we're continuing the best as we can, but we just had a convening on 42nd Street in the Times Square area on a hip hop celebration, which went very well. So I can honestly say, outside of the crisis at hand, we, DYCD, did very, very amazing job with a great team of placing us in places where we normally wasn't visible at, and now we're more so visible. And I'm gonna, you know, also venture to say that when I came in front of the board, we talked about how the Office of Neighborhood Safety that was once formerly on Lamont J was coming over to DYCD. Well, that transition and that integration has happened, and the staff has finished its transition, and it's working very well in the platform that we currently have provided for the Cure Violence groups, the crisis management systems that are going out there dealing with youth and youth that are just as involved, and how do we roll out an integration prevention program, and how they're trying to stop young people from picking up, you know, a weapon and have retaliations, and the therapeutic services that we're providing, and the real on the ground connection that these groups are doing in the community. And it wasn't as more evidence for this last 2 weeks where DYCD was at the table with NYPD and other sister agencies with the Cure Violence groups working the Juve and West Indian Day Parade. We actually helped convene and work with NYPD on a deployment plan that literally turned out to be one of the safest Juve events, parades, and West Indian Day parades in the city history. So I'm happy to say that the mayor's vision, his forward thinking, and the way he saw the crisis management system folding into DYCD, we're off to a very, very, very good start. I know that there's a looming question around the budget and the migrant and asylum seekers and we call PEG, the program to end the gap. The mayor has put forth challenges to all city agencies to come up with literally, which amounts to a 50% cut. 15 in the next 3 budget cycles. This was announced Saturday. So the issue has always been what help we're not getting. And I think the mayor's been very clear about the fact that we've reached out to the federal government and we haven't received any noticeable supportive help from the federal government. He has also asked the state government as well to provide support, and there hasn't been any noticeable support in the state level. And we're receiving on average 10,000 migrants a month. We're roughly about 60,000 migrant asylum seekers in our shelters that are fully being supported by city tax levy money. He has indicated that he doesn't see an end in sight. And because we're mandated to manage the budget, the mayor feels that it's best that we need to start to look and see exactly what programs need to be cut and rolled back. Everything's on the table. For DYCD, because we're primarily funded through tax levy money, it's going to be a hit. My team, and I have a magnificent budget team, they are reviewing the requests from the budget office, and they're going to come with what they think is the best proposal. Of course, I ultimately have the say on what that's going to be, but I'm not going to hold back any punches. It's going to be a gut check, and it's going to hurt. We were the last PEG. We were able to talk with O&B and really put forth an argument about saving programs and not cutting into some program areas like after-school programs or summer youth programs or our Beacon programs, our runaway homeless youth programs, any one of them. We were able to put forth an argument, and we actually successfully was able to not get as hit fiscally as some of the other sister agencies that took a hit. And in this, the adopted budget that happened, in late June, we actually had seen some level of investments in the adopted budget that really showed that the mayor and the council has a real focus on a youth agenda. We received in our Work, Learn, and Grow program, which is a subset of our SYEP program, our full internship for juniors and seniors. We actually literally received a 5,000 additional slots for that program, which coupled with the 2,000 slots we already had, made it a 7,000 slots. So we're able to offer young people full internships for the year, so as a pathway to continuous employment. our out of school, out of work youth, we were able to get 400 additional slots. Our literacy programs, we were able to get a level of investment to be able to increase our literacy programs as well. Which, by the way, we are using our literacy provider to provide services to our HERC centers where the migrants are being housed. So there has been, and of course, with the crisis management systems, we were able to get a very, very well-funded response to youth and violence with our crisis management. So DYCD actually literally grown in our overall budget. Now, whether or not how that's going to affect us in this overall budget cuts, it's gonna hurt, and I'll be able to report back to the board exactly where those cuts are coming from. So I'm gonna stop right there and see if anyone has any questions, and maybe I can answer to the best of my ability.
Commissioner, is this on? Yeah. You have to submit your budget targets for the November plan by November.
October 1st.
And you touched on this a bit, but has DYCD received any additional funding to work with the migrant children to pass along to some of the community-based organizations who are working on the ground? Has there been any expansion of funding or resources?
So we did receive a limited amount of funding in our RHY program, our Runaway Homeless Youth Program, last year. We were able to pass along some monies to Covenant House to deal with, to help them with legal services. But it wouldn't amount to much. Yeah. But in terms of an increase in our Runaway Homeless Youth programs, in terms of beds for older adults, young people, which is 21 to 24, we haven't received any increase in those slots, and we are looking at the utilization rate for young people 16 to 20. That's another set of beds, and we're looking, and we've seen moderate increases in that utilization outside of what we normally would see.
You think those are the
We think that increase in the 16 to 20 has a lot to do with the young people that are utilizing RHY as the migrant population increases.
Any questions from those online for the commissioner? No? Well, thank you, Commissioner. We have a few orders of business additional. Thank you so much for your report. We're getting close to time, so we're going to move through the rest of the agenda fairly quickly. I want to turn it over to Eduardo. He finished our member directory. A lot of work went into that. So Eduardo, if you could just speak to that and to the vacancy update.
Thank you very much, Liz. Thank you so much for everyone. Primarily, in your package here today, we have a new member directory, and we're very proud of that. And we'd love to be able to have members appreciate one another. So in the back of that sheet is a contact information specifically for youth board members. We eventually will be posting that online, and those folks who are on the call remotely, I will send it to you first thing in the morning. The copy of the directory for your appreciation and utilization. It's an attempt to better familiarize yourself with one another, and of course to access one another with your contact information. This document will be revised to be placed online for the public appreciation, but we will not include, of course, your contact information. We'll have generically my contact information if anybody wants to reach you. The other update I have pertains to the vacancies on the board. As you're very well, we've been trying to fill these vacancies. We started this process under Commissioner Howard this summer, and we opened it up to a large population of individuals, and we successfully received 20 candidates that wanted to be considered for appointment consideration. Of those numbers, after vetting for one reason or another, the number dropped down to 11. We successfully sent to the Mayor's Office of Appointments 11 candidates. I'm happy to tell you that all 11 candidates have in fact been approved. However, it isn't that easy, is it? They have to go through DOI vetting, Department of Investigation vetting. And right now, since this process has started in August, we have reached 4 individuals that have successfully completed that navigation out of the original 20. So it's anticipated that at least those 4 individuals will be named this quarter. And it's also hopeful that the mayor's office will appoint a chair also during this quarter. So we anticipate that happening within the next month or so. Keep fingers crossed. Certainly will highlight that to you. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Thanks, Eduardo, and thank you for all the work that you've done to move things along. Before we move to the announcements portion, in everyone's package, you have a copy of the bylaws. I believe that Chris Bastardi, Chris, thank you. Just based on one of your dialogues with Eduardo, suggested that it would be good for us to revisit those. You know, we did a lot of talk about hybrid versus not, and again, for those online, we can't see you and we can't hear you, so that's probably why a lot of us in the room were voting for in person, because we really do want to see you and hear you. But the reason why we are here is to support our youth, and you know, hearing Commissioner Howard's update, you know, really brought at least me back to why we are here. So the bylaws are there for your review. At an upcoming meeting, we will revisit those, hopefully with our new chair. I'm going to move to the announcement portion. And again, this is a dynamic meeting where we invite guests to speak and to brief the board on important happenings in our community. So I want to turn it over to Kate Spalding, who is the Director of Strategic Initiatives for the Mayor's Office of Engagement. She wants to announce a new initiative from the Mayor's Office. Kate, please go ahead.
Hi, not sure if you can hear me.
Kate, you're online and we can't hear you.
Yeah, I'll
interpret?
Is that?
That big setup, we can't.
Go ahead.
Is that better?
No. It just has to be.
I could repeat. Go ahead, Catherine. I could repeat. Catherine?
Okay. Just wanted to plug another board, and if anyone feels like joining another board related to youth engagement, we would love that.
Okay, say it again.
Go ahead.
There is another board that the mayor is creating called the Young Future Leaders Advisory Board, and we need members like yourselves or other wonderful young people. I will put my email in the chat. I'm happy to email you information, and you can send us your resume, and we would love to have you.
Eduardo, can you send out to everybody that information?
Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, we would appreciate that you said that there's a new board, Youth Future Leaders Board from the Mayor's Office, and that you're interested in highlighting that, promoting that, and you'd like to circulate it for anybody who's interested. Is that correct? Okay, great. I did receive that. We will certainly follow up with all the board members about this new initiative. And of course, if you're aware of any young people that would like to be considered for that board, certainly they would welcome that. So thank you so much, Catherine. We'll certainly follow up, and we apologize for any audio inconveniences that we may have. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. For the last announcement, and then we'll open up to the floor if anyone else has final announcements, but we are joined by the team from Year Up. We're thrilled to have them. I've worked with Year Up, I volunteered with Year Up, so I'm a supporter, but they're here just to brief us on the current happenings and plans for Year Up. So I'm gonna ask the team to introduce themselves, but wonderful to have you here.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Commissioner Howard, for having us here in the Youth Board. My name is Charmaine Pitt-Hosang. last time I was actually at a youth board meeting was 17 years ago when I was in DYCD and I ran Youth Line,
All right.
right? So back at home. I'm gonna quickly pass on to my colleagues who are here with me because, so I'm Director of Partnerships at Year Up nationally. Our New York office has been in operation for 17 years. We are a workforce education training program that are in about 23 different cities across the United States. Our New York office just celebrated our 17th year. We were the fourth iteration of our Europe model, and I'm going to pass it on to my colleagues who are running our New York office to introduce themselves.
Good afternoon again. My name is Nadine Sylvester. I am the site director for the New York and New Jersey. So while Charmaine talked about that, we also do training in New Jersey as well, and serve about almost 600 young people out of our New York office in software development, IT, and in finance. And today, Devin, who's an alumni of our program and also now works on staff, will give you an overview of Year Up. Howard, Commissioner Howard, thank you so much for the invitation, and Eduardo Laboy, thank you so much, and the board, thank you for all that you do, and I hope that you will have lots of questions for us today.
Nice seeing you again.
Yes.
Yeah, I just like.
Everybody, thank you for your time, your attention, your patience. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the people online as well, and the people in the room. So again, my name is Devin Chapman. I am currently the enrollment manager with the Year Up organization. How I got into Year Up is, and also an alum of the program as well. So I started my journey with Year Up 8 years ago. I was fresh out of college, earning my associate's degree, and my mom, I come from a family of 7, I'm the middle child. I come from a Caribbean parent household, so my mom is from Barbados, my dad is from Trinidad. My dad was deported back to Trinidad for legal reasons, so that was a blow to the family. Being the middle child, I was kind of the more mature, responsible one in the family. I hated it. It was a curse, but also a blessing. It just meant that I looked out for my family as a whole, and they were my root, my foundation. So I learned about Europe when I was working in retail. I hated the retail, but it is definitely an opportunity that gave me a lot of passion for what I do now. So I started my journey with Europe when I was working at Banana Republic. I found out from an alum of the program, LaQuan Smallwood, so who encouraged me to apply to Europe. And then from there, I pretty much took my first steps. When people first hear about Europe, they think it's a scam. They think that, what is this? It's too good to be true. This is like, what is this exactly? My journey towards that wasn't necessarily the same pathway, just because I had somebody who did it. So I saw firsthand their journey and their progression into the corporate world. So I decided to take my first steps as well. I joined the investment operations program, which is focused on just really getting an in-depth understanding about finance, understanding stock markets, trades, stuff like that. Found that quickly was not my passion, but it gave me a lot of transferable skills that I still use today. So through my partnership with Europe, I was placed at an internship called North Star Research Partners, which is the marketing research firm. It was based in Lower Manhattan and pretty much in Soho. From there, I was doing marketing research. So my title essentially was a marketing research associate. And I guess I should. So my title was a marketing research associate, where I pretty much learned the ins and outs of the business, doing cold calling, working with people in the C-suites to pretty much understand how their business was doing and how we can work our partnership together to create opportunities that would outsource the different demographics and different opportunities and organizations. I stayed with them for about 1.5 years until my position was eliminated due to budget cut reasons. Sorry, the market is fluctuating so heavily, but it was totally fine. I used them as a resource. They gave me great recommendations and kind of gave me that push that I needed to get to what I wanted to do. Years later, I decided to come to Europe. So I was working during the pandemic. Thankfully, like I was one of the ones that was fortunate to still be working and have my job. I was working in a hybrid modality. And it pretty much gave me the opportunity to, I was working like luxury retail essentially. So not necessarily like retail, but understanding how we can best support clients on a global scale. I quickly learned that I did not want to do retail in my life. Despite that being what I was comfortable doing, I wanted to do something else. So this opportunity with Europe became available. And also while I was applying, I was offered a position at New York Life. But I decided to come to Europe instead because this was being my foundation. I wanted to hear and support individuals like myself who are going through similar disadvantages, and then help them to excel and gain opportunities to careers that would help them to support themselves, support their family, or just give them opportunities that they would excel at. So decided to join Europe, and I don't regret it at all. As an enrollment manager, I conduct ample amount of interviews. So on average, interview between 120 to 140 interviews a month, where I hear young adult stories and where we try to identify what program or what career track is best for them to help them set them up for success. So we have stories where people are trying to be music artists, and I'm like, okay, love this interest, love this motivation, but maybe we're not the program for you. So we try to find them resources or other programs that they can leverage, because we don't want to just close the door to somebody who needs opportunity. For the individuals who are in alignment with what our program offers, we try to set them up for success, and train them prep them for our program, because it's a rigorous journey. And I also just recently graduated with my bachelor's degree from Brigham College, with my focus in communication studies. So, and now I'm here with Europe. I'm gonna skip this quote because for the sake of time, but at the other one, I can read it over. So why is this important? So our young adults are literally our key to our future. We serve individuals between the ages of 18 to 29, so just out of high school or in college. Our program serves as an alternative model program. So essentially, for those individuals who are like not necessarily sure they want to go to college, but they need something to do, our program supports them. So we have ample opportunities. We work and partner with different organizations throughout the U.S. And these are some of the people within the program that we support. And then there's Nadine for an impromptu shout out. So our program is really impactful. My brother also did the program recently and graduated. He did the business operations program and recently graduated. He's part of cohort 33. I was part of cohort 17, so a big gap. I initially didn't want my brother to do the program, not because I didn't see the benefit in it, but because I see him as my younger brother. So I see him as immature. I see him as somebody who needs a push. But doing the program, I recognized that I had to check my own biases and then identify that, okay, like he's actually a grown man. Like he's literally a grown man. We would do check-ins from time to time, just to say like, how are we doing? Calling me on the phone to check in with his resume, helping him to support with the project one that he was working on. And I was like, oh wow, like you're actually growing. This is crazy. So that's why the support program is important to me. Just going over our program eligibility. So our program is geared towards individuals, like I said, it's 18 to 29. We operate around a full-time schedule. So Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's a full-time commitment, and we like to stress that with our young adults being considered for our program, just because we understand that you have a life outside of our organization, but we want to make sure that you understand that if you're being considered for this program, this needs to essentially be your first priority in order to get the most out of what we can offer for you. And unfortunately, if you have a bachelor's degree, then we don't support you with our program just because you have supports that may be offered from your college or other external resources. We want to make sure that we're still giving opportunities for those who may need it. And our program just focuses predominantly on closing the opportunity divide, which individuals with degrees would kind of counteract with that. So we offer 5 different career tracks. We have application development, also known as software development, help desk, desktop support, investment operations, banking, customer success, and business fundamentals. Each program ranges in a different array of timelines, but these are some of the opportunities that come from our program as an advantage of this. And what do we offer? So we offer full-time training, bi-weekly stipend, professional development opportunities, support with staff coaching, mentorships, and we offer high support, high expectations. So essentially what you put into the program is what you're going to get out of it. If you're doing something on the side, probably won't get the most out of it. Like me, per se, when I was in the program, I was working part-time and doing the program. It was very stressful. But at the end of the day, I had a strong support system, which really encouraged me to continue to do it and put my best foot forward.
How much is the stipend?
Right now at the moment, so for the first 6 months, you offer a stipend that ranges $200 a month. And then during your internship aspect of the program, it's $2,100. Yeah, so about $525 a week.
Next
for
cohort?
next cohort starts. So right now we're closed for most of our cycles for our programs. The next one that we'll be starting is in October for our Investment Operations program.
So the most, it's not a lot of money, especially in New York. The most of the,
I said it's not a lot of money, especially in New York. Do most of the participants have part-time jobs?
Yes.
We also provide wraparound services not dissimilar to DYCD. So we have a social work team and we provide additional stipends. So a young adult who may be in a housing crisis, we may be able to provide them with housing and support that until they start their internship. We also connect with other resources such as health insurance and so on. So young adults we are always assessing to make sure that we can fill in the gap, similar to what we were talking about a second ago.
and how many do you have in New York? How many participants do you have in New York?
As of today, we have 192 on internship and 96 started last week. And we're expecting another 38. So
in October, yeah.
We're going to have about 400 students in this program. Yeah. So at the end of the year, we leverage about 600 to 700 students come through our sites.
So my question is, what do you see as some of your biggest challenges right now? Are there any?
Oh,
I mean, I know, tell us. It sounds so great.
Some challenges, recruiting is not one of our challenges, surprisingly. The referral, we have almost 4,000 alums who have graduated the program. Retention has been a challenge because of, especially in light of the pandemic, we have a lot of young people who have now become breadwinners in their household. And so many young adults are finding themselves having to work not just part-time, but full-time, and sometimes 2-3 gigs in order to pay rent because their parent has become incapacitated, long COVID, or some other situation has happened in the home system where the young adult is now managing the home system themselves. Other things is the gig economy is, as you heard, our stipend is not a lot to begin with. And so it takes a lot to have a young person to not take a gig work, like the job, in order to make money. So those are like two that are like readily available for us. And also something that we are not talking about, I think, enough is that young people are we're seeing a rise in the number of young adults experiencing mental health crises. And there are not enough resources. Last week, I had a young adult come in true crisis, had to call 911. Crisis was not like, well, we're not gonna. And so we had to call an ambulance, 911, to come and help this young adult. And so there are not enough referral sources. There are not enough counselors. There are not enough culturally competent counselors. So young adults are sometimes traveling. I have a young adult coming from Brooklyn to go to Bellevue for support. That's just not feasible long-term. If you know young adults, they want things that are in their community that are local. And so those are the three things that have been our biggest challenges that I'm managing right now.
So would you say that possibly, from a city perspective, what kind of partnership would you like to see with what you're doing with young people so that there's more, not even partnership, but accessibility or information from New York City agencies, maybe even mental health?
I want to ask a related question to Jackie. I think I used to know how Europe was funded when it first started, but when Lizette, how are you funded now, and do you have contracts with the city or any governmental agency?
No.
No,
So
you're entirely privately funded?
entirely by our corporate partners.
Yeah.
So our model is mostly by our, like when the model is working 100%, it is about 60% by our corporations, because think about us as a staffing placement for the internship. So all these placements, they're paying for those young people, not to be gophers, but to be actual staff, talent to be developed. And then we have an amazing philanthropy, private funders, and also foundations that support our model.
Right, because one thing that, so I actually have to work, not have to, but I do work with court-involved youth, and we work between 18 and 16, sorry, 18 and 26. And we decided to have on-staff mental health with on-staff person, and we found funding through a couple of foundations. I think I might be able to talk to you a little bit about that, but we really felt that we couldn't refer young people that we were working really closely with to these outside agencies because one, they were not comfortable doing it. And there's still a lot of stigma around needing mental health, especially with male populations.
Yeah.
And so I would like to talk to you later.
Yeah, one quick question. So as far as transitioning from intern to full-time employee of your partner companies, you know, what's sort of the success rate there? Is it like, you know, 100%? Do they all get jobs, or where are you? What's the numbers?
So our internal goal is that.
Sorry.
So our own year up matrix has been like 60% conversion in terms of from where the interns go into those companies, right? We also have a metrics of our young people who might want to continue on with their educational pursuits, right? So go on to college. Then we have a whole staffing wing of employees who, within 4 months, our goal is 85 to 90% to be placed up in a year up related training employment opportunity. So if they don't get hired by their internship placement partner, then we're working with a whole other team of employers who want to hire year up grads, right? So year by year, those matrix is about 85% of either in school or working in a year up related training track.
That's from a cohort.
Yes, in a cohort. So our for us to say we're successful is within 4 months, right? And then we also do metrics at 6 months and at 12 months.
Yep, every year.
So how long is each cohort training period?
Yeah. So the train it's 6 months and under, because through our feedback from our participants, we have now done like hybrid models where some of our trainings are going through like 2 weeks, 3 months. Those are maybe more college students that could quickly go into the internship and then get hired quickly. Then we have for our young people that really need more time, right? That's a 6 month period. So we've changed our model up to what you know. Yeah. And that's what we're also seeing, that there are some people that need more than 6 months, right? So those are the things that we're also exploring at. And that's where we're working with and through other organizations. As I said, I'm part of the national team, so we are looking to see how to pull up our model a little bit and work with other organizations that have a longer runway with young people. So more to come on that. But right now, our traditional program is 6 months and under of training, and then 6 months work-based experience. So it is a year, right?
But they're financially supported through a year?
So $50 a week, give or take, for that training phase, and then $525 for the internship phase.
And other support. The employer does not pay the participant directly?
No, they don't. They pay us, and we manage it, and with paying them through the stipend, and then also through other supports based on a needs assessment of the young person that's coming to the program. Oh, sorry,
Thank you. First, I would want to say congratulations, man. I think your story is incredible. I think when you look at a lot of the factors that you might have had up against you, you were resilient. You never gave up. So I want you to actually, like, you know, give yourself a round of applause for real. Like, pat yourself on the back. You know?
That's our why.
Yeah, you know, for real. Because, you know, we have to identify, like, everybody doesn't have that head start. Everyone doesn't have the, you know, this great story. It starts with resilience. It starts with believing in yourself. So I think you're a good example for your brother, and keep up the good work. for sure. And the question I have for Europe in particular is, in terms of apprenticeships, like what have you guys been up to kind of, I guess, diversify those different types of apprenticeships and trainings? Is there like a process, and do you also get feedback from the youth that you're serving with those things?
Oh, yeah. So one thing is within our advisory boards, we have an amazing alumni association. That's probably one of the most active alumni associations I've seen. Actually, the Alumni Summit is going to be in Dallas, and we have representatives from all our Europe sites. We have about 23 different Europe sites across the country. In addition to that, our fiduciary board elects Europe alumni to sit on the board. They are actually, the chair of the board right now is a Europe alum from 2004 who was just as involved and has been working at MIT as an engineer. And he is co-chair. I mean, I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
We will talk later
Yeah.
because trust me, that's one of my
I know.
passion areas. And your question about partnership, so one of the things that we do want to lean on to, working with DYCD's strategic partnership, is seeing how can we iron sharpen iron, right? We have an overflow of young people who couldn't get into Europe, right, for whatever reason, whether because we didn't have room or they weren't ready. So how can we strategically work together in either Gear Up for Europe or pass on our best practices into other CBOs? So right now we are working with CareerWise, right, where we are the ones who are training 100 teachers through New York City's school system on our Year Up Career Labs curricula. So when school started last week, right, 100 teachers were implementing that, adds up to 10,000 young people who will get part of Year Up curriculum. We want to do that with DYC.
Yeah. Yes. That's what we want to hear. How do you want to partner?
Well, that was very worth.
And to Catherine's point,
Yes.
we want Year Up alums on your new board. So I'll be calling
Wonderful.
you.
Okay, Catherine, we have an offer to have Europe alums to join your new board, which is wonderful. That's why we're all here to share ideas. So thank you everyone for making the time. Eduardo will be following up with next steps for the next meeting. He's put a lot of work into our December meeting, which will be a site visit. So please mark your calendars for December 5th, 3 p.m. and more to come. Thanks, Commissioner, for all your work and to the DYCD team. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
So, you know, I